जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhav Jaya, Radha Madhav Jaya, Radha Madhav Jaya, Radha Madhav. Shri Radha Madhav ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So, today we are reading from the 7th canto, chapter 4, entitled Hiranyakashipu Terrorizes the Universe. And the text which we are reading is 24, but 24 doesn't have any purport. So I continue reading 25 and 26. Tesham avirbhudvani Tesham avirbhudvani Arupa Megha Nishvana Arupa Megha Nishvana Sanadayanti Kakubhaha Sanadayanti Kakubaha Sadhunam Abhayankari Sadhunam Abhayankari Tesham Avirbhudvani Arupa Meghanishvana Sanadayanti Kakubhaha Sadhunam Abhayankari. Sanadayanti Kabhukubha Sadhunam Abhayankari. Amirabhudvani Arupa Meghaneshwara Yantika Kubha Dunam Abhayankari Teshamavira Bhudvani Kubha Sadhunam Abhayankari. Anybody? Everyone? Tesham, in front of all of them, Avirabhut, appeared. Vani, a voice. Arupa, without a form. Meghanishvana, resounding like the sound of a cloud. Sanadayanti, causing to vibrate. Kakubhaha, all directions. Sadhunam, of the saintly persons. Abhayankari, driving away the fearful situation. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Then there appeared before them a transcendental sound vibration emanating from a personality not visible to material eyes. The voice was as grave as the sound of a cloud, and it was very encouraging, driving away all fear. So there's no purport, so I continue reading. Ma bhaishta vibudha sreshtaha sarvesham bhadramastu vaha maddarshanam hi bhutanam sarva shreyopapattaye gyatametasya dauratmyam daitya pasadasya yat tasya shantim karishyami kalam tavat pratikshata. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The voice of the Lord vibrated as follows. O best of learned persons, do not fear. I wish all good fortune to you. Become my devotees by hearing and chanting about me and offering me prayers. For these are certainly meant to award benedictions to all living entities. I know all about the activities of Hiranyakashipu and shall surely stop him very soon. Please wait patiently until that time. Purport. Sometimes people are very much eager to see God. In considering the word mad darshanam, seeing me, which is mentioned in this verse, one should note that in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Bhaktyamam abhijanati. In other words, the ability to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead or to see Him or talk with Him depends on one's advancement in devotional service, which is called bhakti. In bhakti, there are 9 different activities. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma, Nivedanam. Because all these devotional activities are absolute, there is no fundamental difference between worshipping the deity in a temple, seeing him, and chanting his glories. Indeed, all of these are ways of seeing him, for everything done in devotional service is a means of direct contact with the Lord. The vibration of the Lord's voice appeared in the presence of all the devotees, and although the person vibrating the sound was unseen to them, they were meeting or seeing the Lord because they were offering prayers and because the vibration of the Lord was present. Contrary to the laws of the material world, there is no difference between seeing the Lord, offering prayers, and hearing the transcendental vibration. Pure devotees, therefore, are fully satisfied by glorifying the Lord. Such glorification is called kirtan. Performing kirtan or hearing the vibration of the sound Hare Krishna is actually seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. One must realize this position, and then one will be able to understand the absolute nature of the Lord's activities. Mugam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamaham mande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam. Is there any water? Oh, here. Okay. Yesterday, we spoke about some very important topic here. The entire seventh canto talks about one question which Maharaj Yudhishthir was asking to Narada Muni. And these are the fundamental questions upon which the seventh canto is based. And that is that Shishupal and Dantavakra, and these are cousins of Maharaj Yudhishthir, they were Vishnu Parshadas, associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but due to a curse by Brahmanas, they fell from Vaikuntha to this material world. And Maharaj Yudhishthir had great difficulty accepting this, and he inquired from Narada Muni, what kind of a curse could affect even liberated Vishnu Bhaktas? And what sort of person could curse even the Lord's associates? Because cursing and counter-cursing is actually the mode of passion, in one sense. So, for unflinching devotees of the Lord to fall again to this material world is impossible. I cannot believe this. So he's doubting Narad Muni, Yudhishthir Maharaj. Narad Muni has arrived in his palace and he's giving him very interesting knowledge and understanding. And then he continues, the bodies of the inhabitants of Vaikuntha are completely spiritual, having nothing to do with the material body, senses, or life air. Therefore, kindly explain how associates of the personality of Godhead were cursed to descend in material bodies like ordinary persons. So this is the foundational question of the seventh canto. There's one other interesting question coming before this, and that is, how could Shishupal, was always blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead, merge into the Supreme Lord? Because we see those who criticize the Supreme Lord, they are destined to go to hell forever, as long as hell exists, forever. This is Nitya, it's a very great topic. Nityavadha, Nitya Siddha. Anyway, we can talk about it a little bit later. So then Yudhishthir, in front of him, the Shishupal's Atman merged into the Supreme Lord. So how is this possible? Because generally, those who criticize, they are affected by leprosy. And he become like this Chapala Gopal. He was having a critical attitude, and I think he lost his nose, I guess. Now that's another Brahmin who was criticizing Haridas Thakur. But they are affected by leprosy as a karmic result of blaspheming devotees. But this Shishupal, since very childhood, was always criticizing Krishna. How is it possible that he merged? It ain't Brahman, at least. That was what was visible. So these kind of questions arise here, and they're actually very, very important because they give us a clear understanding that we are following the process of Krishna consciousness, but is it possible to fall from Goloka back again into Köln? Is it possible? So this might be a great doubt. So I mentioned that these questions in the Bhagavatam are not just there for inspiration, but they have a very deep rooted topic connected to that. If there is a question, there is a doubt. So try to imbibe what is the doubt behind the question. Why is the question coming up in this Bhagavatam? And if you fully understand, you imbibe that doubt, then realization will come when the answer is given in the conversation between the rishis of Naimisharanya, between Suta Goswami and Shaunaka Rishi, who are then speaking about Shukadeva and Parikshit. So, continuing from that topic which I started yesterday, because it's all connected here, Srila Prabhupada explained that the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when he comes down to this earth planet, his avatars, are all enacted by Yogamaya, not by Mahamaya. And therefore, their coming to this material world due to a curse was something arranged by Yogamaya, because these two persons, Jay and Vijay, in the form of Shishupal and Dantavakra, had to do some activity, some duty, some service for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Prabhupada says, otherwise it is a fact that no one falls from Vaikuntha. So then in that same purport, there's a 7th canto, 1st chapter, text number 35. And now we are in the 4th chapter. And Narad is still continuing to explain the pastime, the activities of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, how they fell into this material world and what they were doing. So therefore, it's all connected. You should always keep a connection between the cantos. Sometimes we noticed in our studies in Mayapur that a question is raised in the first canto, and the answer is coming in the eighth canto. Because actually, like the Acharya said, such a small book, Srimad Bhagavatam, only 18,000 verses. And we're like, my goodness, the Acharyas think it's a small book. And because it's one book, you can expect that the question might arise in a first canto, and the answer will be in the eighth canto. So, therefore, Bhagavatam is one body. It is not, we take it to several cantos, but there is a great connection. And therefore, these questions and the philosophical building up and the levels of consciousness in Bhakti Yoga are also building up in Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, in that same purport, Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain that when the jiva falls, he falls from the Brahma Jyoti. Yenye ravindaksha vimuktamanina stvai ashtabhava vishuddha buddhaya arujya krichrena parang padang tatha patanti adho anadrisha yudma jushmad angrayah. And the cause for that is that he does not respect Krishna's limbs, forms. So one who is merged in the impersonal Brahman, he is sure to fall down into this material world. Now, but then before that, he said that nobody falls from Vaikuntha. And in the same purport, he continues saying, but if you go to the Brahma Jyoti, then you will fall. So how is this? So then he explained that in Vaikuntha and in Golok, the binding factor, or the saving factor or the sustaining factor is your rasa, your relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it comes in many ways. There are different relationships. There is Shanta rasa, there is Dasya rasa, there is Vatsalya. And as a matter of fact, in Goloka, Shanta is not real Shanta. Because the Shanta rasa devotees there, like cows and trees, they also perform some kind of service. And they're very much mad after Krishna. But there is another kind of Shanta rasa, which is very, very much connected to Maryada Bhakti or Sattvic Bhakti. So Bhakti which is very much bound by the rules of the scriptures. Like Rama Bhakti is known very much as Maryada Bhakti. He's the Maryada Purushottam, following all the etiquettes very strictly. When he speaks, he only speaks one. He never speaks a lie. But Krishna Bhakti is different. Maya Mori, main nahi makhan khayo. A great poet, a blind poet named Surdas, he wrote a beautiful song in which Krishna is telling to Mother Yashoda, Maya Mori, main nahi makhan khayo. Says, my dear mother, I didn't steal the butter. I didn't eat the butter. But the Yashoda says, and how does butter get on your face? That is witness that you ate butter. So no, this morning we had a quarrel with the cowherd boys, and they tried to trick me, so they just put some butter here. I didn't eat the butter. So finally Mother Yashoda at the end of the song, she agrees. And then Krishna says, Maya Mori, main nahi makhan khayo. Now, nahi in Hindi or in Sanskrit means not, but nehi means it was me. Yes, it's a confirmation. So, in this way, Krishna speaks a lie and a truth at the same time. And all these so-called lies, that are meant to increase rasa. It is explained, this question comes up, how can there come a mistake in Golok if devotees are perfect, nitya siddhas? How can a mistake come up in a jiva? This is a very controversial topic, and a lot of discussion is happening there. But I explained yesterday, we have to be very careful in this, because that dimension of Golok has many, many more dimensions than only your three-dimensional earth, length, width, and breadth. And those who try to understand with their tiny brain, they add maybe one other dimension of the mind to that. But this topic is not dealing with the mind, neither with the three-dimensional earth. It deals with the Atman dimension and Paramatma dimension. So unless you have access to that and you have clear vision, you'll be definitely making a mistake in understanding. Just like Brahma, when he arrived in Dwarka and wanted to have darshan of Krishna, then Krishna told the Dwarpal, ask him which Brahma it is. Which Brahma? I'm the only Brahma. He was thinking like that. Then Krishna revealed, he opened the Atmic dimension. And then he had vision of all these universes and all these Brahmas coming with 15 heads, 50 heads, millions of heads, bowing down, and they're clashing their crowns on the ground and obeisances to Krishna. Then he understood uh, Krishna's not what I thought he is. He's much, much more greater. So when it comes to these kind of dimensions, there is possibilities of black and white at the same time. Nothing is either this or either that. Just like in computers, you have bits and bytes, zeros and ones. I heard nowadays they have made a quantum, a qubit computer with 1 and 0 at the same time. So it's getting closer to the truth. Different shades are possible. In the level of consciousness, you can be at more places at the same time, isn't it? You can be sitting here and going into dreamland also at the same time. You can be sitting here and you can be in your mind also in the kitchen, and you can be in a prasadam hall because after class there will be prasadam. So you are sitting here, but you can be at multiple places at the same time. So in this, even in this little change of dimension, these possibilities are there. Then how is it that in Goloka this would not be possible? So those who try to discuss this topic, it's more a point of realization, as I was trying to explain yesterday, that what kind of envy you had towards Krishna. He's full of opulence, he's the most powerful, and it's for you to realize what was the cause that you left his association, thinking that you would gain something more, right? And it's different for everyone. It can be a combination of desires you had. It could be uh, some other allurement there was. And the main thing is when you lose your relationship with Krishna, you become tatastha, which is very much used in our Hindi language like somebody who's becoming distantiated. He's not calling anymore. He doesn't look, and he doesn't, come to your home, though he was very an intimate friend. So we say he's very much distantiated. So that's the actual meaning of tatastha. In Sanskrit, the meaning becomes then who is situated on the border energy, which are the jivas. So he tends to become what he actually is, border, on the border of Krishna's loving relationships of Goloka, and then soon he will fall from that position in this material world. So these things are happening, and this increase and decrease in a rasa, in tasting the taste of relationships, we also experience in our chanting. Sometimes the chanting is very nice, and you hear, we experience a lot of bliss, completely in bliss, and all of a sudden, then you lose taste again. Up and down is coming and going, and these things are described just like a nama bhasa. It is the actual name, but it is clouded. Clouded with what? With anarthas. The effects of kama, krodha, lobha, lust, anger, and greed, and other things, mada, matsarya, enviousness, you get these things as a gift freely from the material nature when you take birth in this body, and you can never get rid of them. But you can get rid of their effects. And if you do that, then you attain anatta nivriti, freedom from these things. And therefore, devotional life is a very like a sharp razor's edge, because you can't get rid of kam, krodha, lust, anger, and greed as long as this material body is there. But you can get rid of their effects if you concentrate your mind on higher topics. So then anartha nivriti is reached, and then you get rid of these effects of kama, krodha, lobha. And then the clouds of the real effects of the holy name become visible. And then you experience what the holy name actually is. Now, in experiencing the bliss of the holy name, the rasa, Rupa Goswami describes also bhavas. Bhavas are ecstasies, which you read in Nectar of Devotion. And there are two types of ecstasies which even devotees can experience even when they are not liberated yet from the three modes of material nature. They're called chayarati and pratibimbarati. Now, chayarati is the actual thing of love of Krishna and prema, but it's still clouded with all kinds of other desires. And sometimes I meet people who ask me about this, that Prabhu, I have dreams, or I have Sometimes they see deities moving, or when they speak to deities, they get messages. But at the same time, they're very attached to their family, to their car, to their bank account, and other things. How is this possible? Isn't Krishna only responding to those who are extremely pure? There is something called Kripa Siddhi, beginner's luck and mercy, which Krishna gives. So these people have that. They might have done some very special devotional service in their past life, due to which they are getting a nice reciprocation. But we have to understand, if there is also attachment to material things, and at the same time there is attachment to Krishna, that is called Chaya Rati. So there is ecstasy, but it's like a shadow. And there is another one called Pratibimba, a reflection. Sometimes in the association of great devotees who have great love for Krishna, when they start singing, when they start speaking, you feel the ecstasy they have in their heart. You're sharing a little bit. So it emanates from their heart, reflects on your heart, and you feel like, wow, this is so nice. And you feel, I'm a pure devotee also. But then when the lecture is over, the kirtan is finished, then you tend to go down again. Oh, what is this? It was not your ecstasy. You are enjoying the ecstasy of that association of the devotee. So that's called a pratibimba, a reflection. And we have to be very careful, because both this chaya, shadow ecstasy, and reflection ecstasy will be finished when you commit offenses. See, that's the main problem in devotional service, is offenses. If we can, therefore, live a life in a mode of goodness, and therefore I've written some courses. I wrote a course on Vaishnava etiquette. So Srila Bhakti Charaswami, my Diksha Guru, wrote also Vaishnava etiquette. So I took that book, plus with the instructions of Bhaktivedanta Purnaswami in the Mayapur Gurukul, who told me to, if you teach young devotees, teach them the first and the last chapter of the Pancharatra Pradeep, which deals basically with rules of cleanliness, preparations, and your daily activities. So I combined them into one book. And that is basically our lifestyle in Krishna consciousness, how to live in a mode of goodness. And when you do that, you avoid a lot of offenses. And guaranteed, you make a lot of progress. And if somebody asks me, what is your credit? I never put, I did university, I did, genetic, and don't put these things, because there is no value in it. Prabhupada never glorified material education. So if I have to, give my credits, what are my credits? My credits are that two of my students who strictly followed my instructions on Vaishnava etiquette and the instruction I gave, they're now back to Godhead. One passed away in Vrindavan on Radhashtami. Her name is Chaitanya Priya Mataji. While Bhakti Charuswami was chanting Hare Krishna in her ear through the phone. So definitely, but she was my student. I trained her up to Brahman initiation and did her Diksha ceremony. And he confirmed she went back to Godhead. Another one, which I trained, Krishna Karuna Prabhu in Rotterdam, passed away. And Bhakti Charuswami also confirmed he went back to Godhead. So if there's any credit, this is my credit, and nobody can steal it from me. So if you want to come with me and learn something from me, I can only give you back to Godhead. I can't grant you big bank balance. I can't grant you, a lot of Sanskrit slokas. I'm not like that. But definitely there is value in jnana. It will guide you into the right path. But at one point, you have to give it up and depend on your raga, on your affection to Krishna. That has to increase. Because jnana is an aspect of the mind. And with the mind, you cannot go to Golok. If you want to go to Golok, all the Atma goes there. The mind has to die. Yes, the mind also dies. As a matter of fact, Kapila Deva says in his teachings that Bhakti Yoga dissolves the subtle body. Now, what is that? No more subtle body? So now try to understand like this. Every night, I hope you had a good sleep last night, you experience this state of consciousness. And it is a very nice way to hang on to or to measure whether you are able to chant like this. It says there are 4 stages of consciousness. There is wakefulness, there is dreaming, there is deep sleep, and there is the 4th one, Turiya. It's called Turiya. In Sanskrit, it's called Jagran, Swapna, Sushupti, and Turiya. You'll find this in Prabhupada's books here and there, but generally it's very technical and nobody elaborates on that. But I like meditation personally very much. So I dived into this, and also in the Mayapur Gurukul, we're talking elaborately about this. So, when you awake, you're aware of this world. You see the floor, you see the ceiling, the temple room, the curtains, you see devotees, you also see your body, your bones, your hair, everything you can see. That is the world of wakefulness, Jagran, right? Now, when you are in a dreaming state, when you sleep at night, then you're not aware of your gross body, isn't it? You don't even know where you are lying. You don't even know in which direction you are lying. And sometimes when you wake up, then, where am I? Oh yes, I'm in Köln Temple. I'm in Gauradesh. Isn't it? Didn't it ever happen to you? Right? So at night when you're sleeping, you're not aware of your gross body, neither are you aware of the material environment or the world outside. In other words, in dreaming state, there is no physical existence. The physical existence is gone. Your body is finished. Are you dead when you're dreaming? Are you dead? No, you're dreaming, right? So there is no body in a dreaming state, and still you're alive, isn't it? Then as you dream a lot of things, then the body or the mind is very active. And as a matter of fact, sometimes you're dreaming so intensely that when you wake up, you're tired because you're working hard in your dream. And then you wake up and whew, that was a heavy dream, heavy labor in a dream. In this dream state, there is no body, there is mind. There is the mind. Now, there is another state in which you dream very deeply. Sorry, when you sleep very deeply, there is no dreams in there, deep sleep. And in deep sleep, because there are no dreams, there is only an experience of intense bliss. And you're only able to describe it when you wake up. You said, okay, I had a nice sleep, but I didn't have any dreams. Right, isn't it? It's called deep sleep, in Sanskrit, sushupti. Now, there is no dreams in sushupti, so there is also no mind. Right? In the first state, you lost your body during dreaming. In deep sleep, you lost your mind also. But are you dead in deep sleep? You're not dead. You're still existing without body and without mind. See? Every night you have a realization that you can exist without body and mind. And guess that bliss that's being recharged, like a mobile you're recharging every day, you get recharged at night. Now, where is this bliss coming from? Because it's not you who's creating it. There is no mind, so you cannot concoct anything. There is no body for you to create any bliss. Where is the bliss coming from in deep sleep? Surprising. The Vedanta Sutra explains that the jiva in deep sleep goes to the lap of Mahavishnu and sleeps in his lap. Amazing, huh? So you go to the Supreme Father and he's caressing, my dear son. Take some rest. But what if you could wake up on the lap of Mahavishnu? How would that be? When I gave this class in Rotterdam, there was a proper disciple there. He got the point. He said that, what would happen if you would die on the body of Mahavishnu? I said, you got the point. You lose your gross body and subtle body and you're self-realized, right? So this state in which there is consciousness, but there is no awareness of body and mind is called samadhi. And there's another word for that, pragya. And this word is used in the Gita. Arjuna is asking Krishna, Sthita pragyasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitadhir kim prabhasheta kim avisita brajeta kim. Second chapter, verse 54. And in this very sloka, two words are mentioned here. Sthita pragyasya, one is situated in pragya. Ka bhasha, what is his, how does he speak? Ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava. What does his samadhi look like? You see, pragya is samadhi. It mentions in the same verse. Samadhi stasya keshava, sthitadir kim prabhasheta. What are his words? What is his way of speaking? Kim asita, how does he sit? And how does he walk? Interesting, no? If somebody is situated on the Atma, does he act in a different way than somebody who is situated in his body? Right? What is the difference? And then you say the whole section of verses come there where Krishna explains that one who is in samadhi, on the atmic level, how does he act, how does he work? But my point here was, every night you are going to the lap of the Supreme Father. And every day You fall down from the lap of the Supreme Father and you come to Köln back, isn't it? So what is this difficulty then understanding you can fall from Golok also if every night you're losing your chance for self-realization? Therefore, when you chant, you should try to be in such a state of consciousness, not aware of your environment, not aware of the thoughts of the mind. There should only be the holy name. And beg the holy name to awaken your consciousness. When that happens, you cross, because Mahavishnu is the realm of the Karan ocean, the causal ocean. When you cross that realm, there Golok is situated. That's called the fourth state, Turiya. As long as your relationship with Lord Krishna is not clear, you'll not be able to cross that, the causal ocean, the realm of the Viraja. So therefore you stick to this dreamless state. But once it awakens, Prabhupada mentions, the subtle senses have to be purified. What are these subtle senses? Ever wondered? What are subtle senses? Sorry? What are subtle senses? Yeah. No. These are the subtle bodies. Prabhupada says subtle senses have to purify. Interesting, huh? When I mentioned it in Mayapur, it was like, I'm like going like that. The subtle senses are actually the chakras in the body. See? Without their proper functioning, your organs will not function properly. So you see here that what we are practicing is exactly yoga. Others do it mechanically without rasa, but we do it with rasa. And as a matter of fact, Patanjali mentions in his Yoga Sutras that after samadhi comes, Ishvara Pranidhan, surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Mayavadis, they took a big gummy and wiped it out, After samadhi, they want to be one with the Lord. You have to surrender. Patanjali says, Ishvara Pranidhan, you have to, surrender to the Supreme. They don't want that. So they wiped it out. They never speak on this. But we start with that very process. See? Anukuliyasya sankalpa pratikuliyasya varajanam rakshishati ti vishvaso goptritve varanam tatha atmanikshepakarpanye shadvidha sharanagati. There are 6 ways of surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And one is accepting everything favorable for the service of the Supreme Lord. But sometimes you have to be careful. Some things look favorable, but they are not favorable. Like internet, modern, digital things here and there. And you wonder whether it is good for brahmacharis. Grihasthas, they can sleep 24 hours and eat the whole world, Prabhupada said. So for them, to use or not use doesn't make any difference. But sometimes things look favorable, but they are not favorable. So be very careful. You have to judge for yourself, how powerful are you? Because these little monsters, they are gateways to Maya. Like that. So, anukuliyasya sankalpa, pratikuliyasya varajanam. What is not favorable for devotional service, you should reject. Right? So, like overeating, too much sleeping, too less sleeping can also be disastrous for devotional service. And then rakshishati vishvaso, having full faith that Krishna will always protect me. Goptritve varanam tatha, and therefore only taking him as the only master. Atma nikshepa means full surrender up to the level of the Atma. But that's the thing, unless you realize, what is the Atma. And realization is not something in the mind. It's like realization comes in deep sleep. That's what we call realization. If something starts to live on that level, it's realization. When you get an insight on the swapna level, on the dream level, it's called an insight, but it's not a realization. Realization goes deeper. So, and it has nothing to do with the mind. It looks like it's in the mind, like Rupa Goswami says in Nectar of Devotion, but it's not on the level of the mind. Only when something starts to live on the Atma level, you can call it a realization. And therefore, all this intellect is only in the Swapna realm, and Swapna is still material. It starts to become spiritual when you go into deep sleep and you cross that realm and go into the 4th dimension of consciousness, where there is ecstasy and then where there is experience of the rasas with Krishna. And all this is possible, this is definitely possible and must be done by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So you can experience in your own chanting how far you're getting there. Now, Going further here, let's see. Prabhupada also explains, Shri Vijay Goranga Dayal Nitai Ki Jai, is that though the jiva falls from the spiritual world, the sambandha, the relationship with the Supreme Lord, is never destroyed. How is it never destroyed? Because it's part of your existence, part of the level of the Atmic existence. All the Atmas have a relationship with the Paramatma. And the Supreme Paramatma is Krishna, and therefore it is never destroyed. And neha vikramanashosti pratyavayo navidhyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution. And a little advancement can save one from the greatest danger, right? So it is mentioned there even. And also, Kaviraj Goswami says that Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti, or Krishna Prema somewhere says, Sadhya Kabunai, Shravanadi Suddha Chite Kare E Udai. So Krishna Prema is already there in your heart, but it's covered with many, many layers of dust from many, many lifetimes. And that has to be cleansed. And when you cleanse it, it automatically manifests. And that's very interesting because the previous verse, which you were reading yesterday, it describes that. Let me read here. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto that direction where the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated, where those purified souls in the renounced order of life, the great saintly persons go, and from which, having gone, they never return. Without sleep, fully controlling their minds and living only on their breath, the predominating deities of the various planets began worshipping Rishikesh with this meditation. And Prabhupada mentions that, but Vishnu is everywhere. Why should he mention a direction? Is there any direction he's not situated if he's everywhere? And then he makes this point that he is already everywhere, but everything was, the influence of Hiranyakashipu was so powerful at the time that it seemed like Hiranyakashipu was all pervading. You know, his consciousness, his ruling was just everywhere Hiranyakashipu. Narayan was not allowed, Vishnu was not allowed. You chant Hiranyakashipu 60 rounds, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyakashipu. You get everything from, he was thought he was the Lord of the universe. But then he says, still, there are places like the Dhamas where the influence of Hiranyakashipu cannot come, like Vrindavan, Mayapur, Ayodhya. So like that, even if you fall from the spiritual world, that consciousness is not lost. And when you polish away your Hiranyakashipuism, then you will find that everything below that is still very spiritual. It's like there can be floods, but after the flood dissipates, the original land again becomes manifest, like that. So, in this verse, it's very interesting. The ways of raising one's consciousness are described. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam, Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. This is also called Navada Bhakti, 9 ways of devotional service. And definitely you must have heard about this. So now, Shravanam and Kirtanam, and these 9 forms of devotional service, they are also personified by different devotees. That means devotees, certain personalities have attained the perfection of eternal association with Krishna by one or more of these methods. Shravanam, anybody knows who attained perfection through Savanam? Who? Parikshita Maharaj. And Kirtanam? Very good. Vishnu Smaranam? Oh, the male devotees. Huh? Padasevanam? She knows everything. Lakshmi ji. Archanam? Prithu Maharaj. Vandanam? Very good. Dasyam? Hanuman, yes. Sakhyam? Atmanivedanam? Very good. So you can study these personalities, that how deep their consciousness or their loving devotion is towards Lord Krishna, in which form. So this Atma Nivedanam is full surrender up to the level of the Atma of Bali Maharaj. Now how is that? So we know the pastime of Bali Maharaj that he conquered the three planetary systems, Bhur, Bhuvar, Swar. Somebody was asking me, doesn't mean also the lower planets? They are not considered to be as Trilokya, because they are not actually lokas. Loka means a ball-shaped planet-like. They're talas, means they're flat, and sunlight doesn't reach there. So they can be considered sometimes like caves, So Trilokya means Bhur, Bhuvar, Swar, which means earthly planets, the Antariksha or the space, and Swargalokas, the heavenly planets. You can wonder why it says Bhuvar, why it says space. Well, there are many planets in space, and space itself, as science is discovering, is not an empty vacuum. Space can bend, space can have holes, and they're experimenting with that. Space can ripple. Probably you know about quantum physics. Somebody told me that, maybe we can do some presentation on that. If, it turns out that if there is a very heavy body of gravity in space, then space tends to bend with the gravity. Is that measurable? They have measured it. Scientists have measured space is shrinking and elastic and extending. They have measured that. So space is not something like a vacuum or empty space. And there are many beings in space. There are many planets which are not visible. The planets which are visible, they are made of earth, water, fire, visible elements. But there are also planets made of air, planets made of mind, planets made of, and they exist there. It's very easy for them to become invisible. Antariksha. Oh no, antardhyana. That means entering into the level of the mind. So these planets can only be visible if you meditate, right? And it can be shielded. So from all the different elements, there are different planets. So therefore, Bhur, Bhuvar, Swar, or Trilokya, contains also space. And space is very mystical. But gradually, they're trying to unfold the mysteries of space. Now, Bali Maharaj was the controller of Trilokya. He had conquered Indra and the Devatas, and he became the Lord and Master of the universe. Now, his guru, Shukracharya, was very intelligent. He said that you can only occupy the post of Indra if you do 100 Ashwamedha Yagyas, sacrificing a horse. A horse sacrifice is very much in detail described in the Valmiki Ramayana, if you want to read. You can see how much preparation is needed, years of preparations. They're baking their stones for this fire pit, and then so many animals have to be brought, and they are sacrificed, and then they are revived again. And at the end, you have to let loose a horse on the head there is written a challenge. Anybody who captures this horse will have to face the emperor, defeat him, or die, or surrender. So, like that. So there is a horse challenge. Wherever the horse goes, it's an indication that the rulers there are surrendering to the emperor. And then when the horse comes back, then his head is cut off. And it's, sounds like very, but that's a Ashwamedha Yagya. And the queen who cuts the head of the horse in one stroke with the sword, she has to sleep one night with that cut head. And she'll get some kind of dreams which will indicate whether the desires they had or the sacrifice was successful or not. These desires will be fulfilled or not. So Bali Maharaj was doing his fire sacrifices, Ashwamedha Yagyas, and the Devatas were very much in anxiety. If Bali does 100 sacrifices, we lose forever our position in the heavenly planets. So then a little boy appeared, very cute little boy with an umbrella. He appeared in the arena, Vamana Deva. And the way he was walking and the way he was talking, a Naishtik brahmachari, cute, handsome, clean, and he's smiling. He came to Bali, and the pastime. And he said, oh, what can I offer to you? Because the emperor cannot complete the sacrifice until everyone is satisfied. If there is even one beggar says, I need something, you cannot fulfill the Ashwamedha Yagya. You have to give so much till somebody says, okay, enough, everyone, enough. Then only you're qualified as the emperor of the world. So what do you need? Well, 3 pieces of land. And there's some discussion there, which I'll shortcut here. But then Vamana he extended and he took his own 3 steps. And then he conquered the whole universe. Now, after 2 steps, the whole universe was already covered. So he said, Bali, where shall I put my 3rd step? You promised me 3 steps. What does Bali do? He says, put it on my head. I surrender myself to you. In other words, I give you the 3 worlds in exchange for your little lotus feet, for the service of your lotus feet. That is Atma Nivedana. See? He rather has the little lotus feet of Vamana than the three planetary systems. See? And Shukracharya didn't like that. Now he's losing his income, and his prestige. So a Brahmana who is running more after money than after spiritual progress, he's blind on one eye. Right? He's actually blind on one eye. One is Shruti and one is Smriti, it says. One are the Vedic scriptures and one is the Puranic scriptures. So what happened is that when Bali was giving the promise to Vamana, then in the Vedic times they used to take water and they say the promise and then they put it in the hand and the water has to flow like this. And that's equal as signing a contract. Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva will accept. Yes, that has been said and that will be accepted. So now you need a kalasha, a water pot with a sprout on it in order to let the water flow. But as Bali took that water pot, the water didn't come out. What happened is Shukracharya with his mystic powers, he went into that water pot to stop the water to flow. So no sankalpa, so you don't have to give a donation. So Vamana knew what was happening, so he took a little straw and he pierced it in that hole. And it went to the eye of Shukracharya. He lost one eye. And that's what says that if you do some kind of sacrifices in which Shukracharya is needed, you have to look for a one-eyed Brahmin. So funny things are there. So you can see here, anyway, the point is Atma Nivedanam, how great that is, the 9 types of devotional service. But here Srila Prabhupada is stressing here the oneness, actually the Abheda part of our philosophy. In Bhakti, there are 9 different activities: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Mandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedamam. Because all these devotional activities are absolute, there is no fundamental difference between worshipping the deity in a temple, seeing him, etc. So, the full, complete truth is simultaneously non-different or simultaneously one and different. So now I'm going to read a verse which might upset some people, and which might make other people happy. But it's from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 22, text number 27. There it says, Dagdhashaya mukta samasta tad guno naivatmano bahir antarvichaste paratmano yat vyavidhanam purastat swapne yatha purushastad vinashe. When a person becomes devoid of all material desires and liberated from all material qualities, he transcends distinctions between actions executed internally and externally. At that time, the difference between the soul and the supersoul, which was existing before self-realization, is annihilated. When a dream is over, there is no longer a distinction between the dream and the dreamer. My word, in Prabhupada's books. At that time, the difference between the soul and the supersoul, which was existing before self-realization, is annihilated. So for those who are only living the Bheda, everything is different, they will have a difficulty with this verse. And those who are living only the Abheda, everything is one, they will misinterpret that I am Paramatma, see? There is no distinction between soul and supersoul. So I am God. I'll grow a long beard, wear a big turban, take a staff, and I'll become God like that. So this is the problem. If you take only one of them, you have half-truth. You have to take both of them. At the same time, one and different. How is that? How can it be same at the same time, one and different? Because we're talking here about, like I said, another dimension, another substance. Sarvam khalo idam Brahma. When you want to go to the spiritual world, you have to reach the level of Brahma Bhuta, Prasannatma, na sochati, na kankshati. Samah sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. If you want to go to bhakti, you have to actually cross the desires, the worries, the aspirations in this material world and become completely satisfied, satiated. Just like after the Sunday feast. What is your favorite preparation, Prabhu, in eating prasad? Samosa. Your? Yeah. No preparation. You? Rule? Halwa. Okay. So now on a Sunday feast, you have eaten so much halwa and so much samosas. That somebody passes by and says, take some more samosa now? Would you like to take them? If you open the mouth, you can see the prasad in there. Everything is full and packed up to here. Akanta puriya karo. They're completely satiated. You can't take more, right? In that state of satiation, even your most favorite dish, you can't eat anymore. You don't desire to eat anymore. Now, if that state of satiation, self-satisfaction you can maintain, right? You can maintain, then you can come to the level of being liberated. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na shochati, na kankshati. There's still some hunger, still some desire for halwa. I have some 100 grams of emptiness there. Stack it there, put it there. Then you still have desires, right? So when desires are nullified, just like in deep sleep, there's no thinking, there's no willing, there is only feeling intense bliss. And every night you're going through that, and the Lord is explaining to you, listen, my dear Jiva, if just sleeping on my lap is already so blissful, how blissful will it be when you wake up on my lap and come in my embraces? That's self-realization. But we are such a naughty rascals. We say, no. We glide down from the lap of our father and go back into the external world. We'll go back to Köln, One day I will come, just wait. And he's waiting patiently. When will this jiva come back to my lap? I don't know, the Supreme Father. So this thing of how the jivas fall from the spiritual world, well, think why you're every night going back to wakeness, and then you try to enjoy this world. You can look for yourself, ask yourself why you're doing that. And when you have the chance in the morning to chant your rounds, you can go back to the lap of your father, but then in a state of wake. That's called yoga. When you sleep, you have no control what you dream or where you are at. But when you chant, you should also go through the stages and go to that state where there is only name. No body, no mind. So no mobiles, no screens, no thinking, just name only. Because that's the state in which you are when you're in deep sleep. Be there with the holy name only. And let the holy name do the magic of revealing who you are in relationship with Krishna. That's real chanting. It's called samadhi, like that. But like I said, we have this tendency that, we get out of that and we come back into the material world. So here, that state of absoluteness is very much described by Srila Prabhupada, that these 9 activities, though they are variegated, they are still all absolute. Now, how do we understand that? Because everything is basically made of Brahman. And what is this Brahman? Brahman means liberated consciousness. Yes, liberated consciousness can also create a world. Here, inertness means consciousness which is put in deep sleep creates this world. Isn't it that the creation starts from the realm of Mahavishnu? Right? If you study the story of creation, everything becomes very clear. In the realm of Mahavishnu, the jivas are in deep sleep. That means everything which is conscious becomes like inert. And then only the material nature can start. Right? Like the elements and things like that. But in the substratum of that, there is the Mahatattva. And what is Mahatattva? It is the great absolute consciousness, and it manifests in everyone as little bits of consciousness. That Mahatattva is the pranic aspect, the life force in you, which manifests as consciousness in you, which is part of Mahatattva, because the deity of Mahatattva is Lord Vishnu himself, Vasudeva. In this way, there is also connection. But that's a substratum of the material world. And therefore, even in the material world, if you connect to that dimension, to that realm, you can be self-realized and in this material world. It is given like that. So, we only have 10 minutes more. Maybe I can tomorrow elaborate. No, tomorrow is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Maybe Monday more on how then ego comes up. How do you become conditioned? Why you get out of the lap of Vishnu and go into the realm of dreamlands, realizing, what is it? Create your dreams. What is it? All these advertisements you see. Realize your dreams. Like that, dreaming realm, and then you want to realize it in the world of this gross world, and then become more and more conditioned. So, when it is liberated consciousness, it actually cooperates with you. And therefore then, the bhakti, which is which is existing actually on the level of liberated consciousness, reciprocates with the practitioner, and therefore the hearing can show you Krishna's pastimes. Chanting can show you Krishna's pastimes. Remembering can show you Krishna's pastimes. Everything. And this process is mentioned in the Brahma Samhita by Jiva Goswami, that devotees can practice what is called mantra upasana. If you are preparing your consciousness in the right way, and your mindset is correct, then when you chant the mantra will reveal its form. Because this mantra is conscious. So it reveals its original form. And it has a Sanskrit name also. It's called Mantra Siddhi or Mantra Swarupa. So we are actually practicing that, which is called Mantra Upasana. And in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, our Sampradaya is also mentioned as Mantra Upasaka. So we are worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in a form of mantra. And by mantra, everything is revealed. So it is only required, like Prabhu says here, it depends on your level of advancement. But if you have the proper mindset, then in the chanting, you can see Krishna. It is not a concoction. It will come by itself. Because like I said, in deep sleep, there is no possibility of concoction, but there is no mind, right? It has to come by itself. That bliss which you're experiencing in deep sleep is not your creation, because there is no mind, there is no body. So how will you create? There are no karma indriyas, no jnana indriyas. Where is this bliss coming from? Not from you. Similarly, in the chanting, when you are on the deep level of consciousness, the bliss has to come from the name. And what is the name? That is Krishna, that is Mahavishnu. He will give you the bliss. And this is the way we're supposed to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I'll end here and invite for questions. Yes.
So when we're sleeping, you are in Samadhi. What happens when we die in Samadhi? Are you going to the Lord?
That was the question which the Prabhupada disciple actually pointed out. Yes, very interesting, because I made here something very technical, very difficult to be realizable, because every night, every conditioned soul is experiencing this. We're just not aware of it. So that's how I try to preach, is that, yes, if you are in Samadhi and you die, means you give up your gross body, you don't have to come back anymore.
So, but then I go to, because we are human beings, but a dog is like a man. So when the dog dreams also, so when a dog is in Samadhi, he also goes to the dog.
Well, you see, there are two ways of looking at this. When you're not Krishna conscious, you don't control your mind, you're just pulled into dreams by Maya. And what you're going to dream is not up to you, isn't it? No, just understand this. It's not up to you, right? Suppose you're dreaming of a woman and then you die in a dream. Are you going to attain Krishna? No. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam, whatever you think, that you will attain. And in deep sleep, when you are there and you don't see anything. Basically, it's all dark in deep sleep. You don't see anything, no dreams, no nothing. And there is only a feeling of bliss. Are you going to go to Krishna when you die, if you see only darkness? No. Because it clearly says, Ante Narayana Smriti, in a Jamila story. You have to remember Narayan, not just chant, but also his form you have to see. Right? So you can say, okay, people who are conditioned, if they would die on the level of samadhi, would they go back to Godhead? That's not actually samadhi. I describe that because you're experiencing these levels of consciousness. When I explain what samadhi actually is, you are awake, you're not sleeping, but you're able to go to that level of consciousness in a controlled way. So that means controlling the mind, controlling the senses, controlling the ego. If you're able to do that, you can, like this, if you can travel controlledly to the level of swapna, dreaming, then the 14 dimensions of the universe, the 14 planetary systems become accessible to you. You can go meet Brahma in your meditation. You can speak with him, right? So of course, it depends on the qualification. If he wants to speak to you, or you are maybe on a list of many visitors, you have to wait for some time. But it is possible. Similarly, if you go to that realm while you're practicing mantra and you're situated in that realm, it's not called sushupti anymore, it's called pragya. They turn into other terms. Jagran, wakeness, turns into Vishwa. The Swapna turns into Tejasa, which means very energetic. Mind is very energetic. And the Sushupti turns into Pragya. And this term is used in the Gita, as I said, Sita Pragyasya ka bhasha. So it is not that a dog dies and he goes back. No, what was he meditating upon? On a bone, and he died. So, so he will become a dog maybe again, get his bone and his bony stuff which he likes to eat. No, you have to consciously practice it. There is a sadhana involved, and there are obstacles which you have to conquer. But here, just like it said, any one of the 9 processes, if you access that, you can attain the perfection like that. Why is that? Because they're all situated on a certain level. Like different strings are hanging. You take any of the strings and you're up there. Like that. Any of them. Because there is a lot of variety there. Because they are on a different platform, you are there. And now to fully manifest your Swarupa, you have to actually chant on that level, plus a lot of love has to be there. Right? Not mechanically, like I force myself and then I want to forget my body, forget my mind, no disturbances. You'll see if you fight with the mind will fight back. So that's not the way to control the mind. You cannot control the mind with the mind. How you control the mind, I can explain in another class. Does it answer your question? Okay. Any other question? Anything else? Okay. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.